What's going on, everyone? ODC here, and I'm back with another action figure review. Today's review, we're going to take a look at the Mythic Legion's Advent of Decay. This is Gonxx. Gonxx is pretty cool. He is the leader, the commanding leader of the Goblin forces for King Noglin. It says he's very strategic with how he commands his army, so pretty cool little leader right here that we have. He is on the larger bodies, which would require him to be a little bit more hulking. So obviously he's a much stronger character physically and even mentally. It seems like he's a very formidable opponent. And this is not a Legion builder. This is a specific character. I think the head fits perfectly with the dwarf body, and I think I know the Goblin Legion builders did come with the Gonxx head as well, but I don't feel like it's just personal preference. Overall, I think that this head fits the dwarf body better than it would fit on a Legion builder body, and I pointed that out in the Legion builder reviews that I did. If you want to go check that out, you can. But personally, I think that this head's a little bit too large for the smaller Goblin bodies. Once you put it on, it looks like he's got this massive head, and it doesn't kind of fit. With the dwarf body, I think it fits. I think it fits pretty well, actually. And just stepping him back a little bit so you can take a better look at the overall scale. The scale on Mythic Legions, the heads do run a little bit on the larger side, but I guess it all kind of depends on armor and stuff like that. How big is the face underneath that sculpt? We will never know because the helmet is not removable. I know there's a lot of fans that were asking for this helmet to be removable, or at least the face guard to be movable, but it is not. It's all one sculpt. I still think the sculpt nonetheless looks pretty good. I think all of the weapons all the accessories, that he does come with, which we'll get to, makes sense for him. And I think he looks great just like this. This is probably how I'm going to leave him. He does come with this flail right here, which is pretty cool. And I like that this is one of the new weapons that were given to us in the weapons pack, and also with a couple characters. But I think it looks really good. It definitely fits this character well. It's actually one of the weapons that I actually gave to my own personal Mythic Legions character. And it comes with some others, but let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into the accessories. Okay, and we're back with Gonxx's accessories here, minus the belt, which I have wrapped across his torso in bandolier style, but he does include one belt. He also includes these shoulder pads, which will be the first accessory up. I'm considering it an accessory due to it not being attached to the figure when we get him in package. So, and it is a piece that is removable. But I really like the paint apps on here. He's got this kind of almost like an orange tinge to it. But it is I think it's originally just a black, see, as you can see under here, it's just a black plastic, and then you have a lot of paint apps going on here. It's almost like a rusty type wash going throughout. I think it looks really good. It fits the character well also, and there's the spike on the back. There's a spike on the front. This is a shoulder pad that we've seen numerous times with Atlas the Conqueror and all of the orcs and plethora of different characters that we've seen, whether it's heroes or villains. The paint apps do differ shoulder pad to shoulder pad. As you can see right here, there's a lot less on here. It's just kind of spackled going throughout, where on this one there is much more paint apps. Excuse me, I'm knocking things over. As you can see on this one, there's much more paint apps. So the paint apps do differ, which is a nice little differentiation between the two. Okay, next up we have the Warhammer. We've seen this numerous times through previous waves in the past. I think even since Wave 1, we've seen the Warhammer. It is, like I said, the rust look does continue throughout the Warhammer. It looks really good going along with the black plastic, which is the mold of this specific Warhammer. I think it looks really good. It does have a hook on the other side. You can remove this hook right here and put a different piece on, but it doesn't come with a different piece. So unless you have extra pieces for it, like the other half of the hammer, then you're going to have to go with this look for it. But it looks pretty cool. I'm pretty pleased with how the paint apps turned out overall. I like the sculpt of the Warhammer overall. I think it's got a beautiful design. I think it definitely, this weapon works with this character's backstory and everything. Hell, it even works with the name, Gonxx. Sounds like the noise it makes, the hammer makes when he hits you over the head. Gonxx! Okay, up next we have the, as I like to refer to it as the same old sword. It's the sword that we've seen since Wave 1. It's pretty much comes with almost every character. Not every character, but almost every character. There is a silver paint with some rusty type wash going over it, giving off that old kind of beat up rusty type sword feel to it. Kind of similar to what they did with the Bog Goblins, but this is a little bit less detail as far as the blade goes. I believe the Bog Goblins broadsword had much more rust going throughout. Moving on to the handle, looks really good. I like the weathered look for it. I think it looks really nice. Beautifully done there. No issues at all with this sword. Okay, and finally we have the flail, and it's a pretty cool looking flail, to say the least. The paint apps are pretty consistent throughout everything else that we've seen that I've just showed as far as accessories go, especially on the top of the flail here. Looks really cool. As you can see, there's a wash there. Looks very nicely done. Very pleased with how this turned out. They could have went the cheaper route and not painted this, but you know, that's the best part about Mythic Legions, is that consistency throughout their paint apps. So there's that, and then we have this nice kind of gold chain. It is like a metal chain. Looks really nice. And then on the handle portion looks really nice as well. It does have a light wash going throughout. There is actually some little spikes or studs on the end of it. So really good job on the flail. I think this is the one of my favorite new weapons that we got within the weapons packs. As far as Gonxx holding everything, this is pretty much, I'm just going to do this little segment where he's holding all the weapons. He can hold this sword in that hand as well. There's no issues there. It's kind of whichever hand you choose to have him holding it. If you want to have him holding the Warhammer, you can just remove that stuff, pop the Warhammer in his hand. It is going to stretch out the hand just a little bit, but it's not as bad as some of those, maybe those older battle axes that they actually, I don't think they actually gave us any of those older battle axes in this wave, which is actually, I want to say, a nice thing, because I think while those old battle axes, I like the sculpt and everything, the design looks pretty cool. The handle portions on them were just entirely too thick, where these are, I think, the right size. And then putting on his shoulder pads, it's pretty simplistic. You just see the peg right there. There's a hole in his back. And then you simply just want to plug that in to his back, or port, whatever term you want to use. It's pretty simple, self-explanatory. And that's what he looks like with his shoulder pads on. I don't know. I'm starting to like the way the shoulder pads look a little bit. It's just, I think the only reason I didn't have the shoulder pads on was due to him having the Warhammer on his bandolier here. Seeing as if you move to the back, you can't really get this bandolier. It doesn't have a whole lot of room to work with as far as weapon storage. Unless you just use simply I guess you could pull this out a little bit and use that storage for the sword instead, and have him holding the flail and the Warhammer. So you could go that route if you wanted to. Let me just gear him all up right here. We'll take a look at how it looks with him holding everything that he comes with. All right. I don't think that looks too bad. Maybe I'll have him displayed like this. I don't know. I don't know which way I like better. The head is also very limited. If you put these shoulder pieces on, just to point that out really quick. You get a little bit of range of motion there. I'm going to go through articulation in a little bit, but it's just something I want to point out. It does hinder quite a bit, just to note that. But here he is, all geared up. I think he looks pretty good. Whether you want him with the shoulder pads or the shoulder, I keep saying shoulder pads, the shoulder armor on or not, I guess it's pretty much up to you. There's no right or wrong way to have your Mythic Legion set up the way you want to have them set up. That's the coolest thing about these. They're modular, they're customizable, you can do whatever you want with them. As far as Gonxx's articulation does go, I'm going to do articulation with the shoulder armor on, and then I'm going to take the shoulder armor off just to show you the differentiation in the range of motion. So the head can't swivel about that much. It can almost get a full 360 rotation, but due to it being on a different neck peg, this neck peg is kind of pushed forward, as you can see there, due to it being on the, the dwarf body, excuse me. It does kind of put the head in an odd position, but I think it works overall. I think it's a functional position. I think the head needs to be a little bit forward due to a lot of this sculpt that's going on for the shoulder armor. So I don't think it looks bad or anything like that. I don't think it's a horrible design. I think it works within the action figure. You can also, if you want to, let's see if I can get this off. You can also push this to the back, which I've actually done with some characters with custom heads. You can depeg if I can get this out. There we go. You can actually depeg that and then peg this in backwards if you need more room for the head to fit. If it'll go in, my lord. There we go. All right, so it's in there, and it sits a little bit higher up, so he's actually a little bit taller now. Now, I mean, he's a little scrunched up, but I guess it depends on what kind of head you use for it. Some of the custom heads that I got, they sit a little bit better, but he is also a little bit taller now. So if you wanted to go this route and have this head sitting like that, you can. My camera is not level, so if you level the camera like about there, you can actually see the eyes now and everything. So, but his eyes are pretty squinty anyway. They're pretty small nonetheless. But you get a little bit better range of motion here with the head up like that. He can look up higher. He can't look down that much due to the neck peg being backwards, but you can also swivel the head full 360 rotation if you need it to. So there you go. And it does tilt side to side with the neck peg backwards. So I guess I have to do more than one segment with these new neck pegs. I think these are new for especially Gonxx here. I don't remember the old neck pegs looking this shape. So maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember that. But with the neck peg in the regular section, the regular position, excuse me, the head can look down. Looks up. Oop, the plume came out. The plume does come out, by the way. I should probably have pointed that out, but now I just did. So, irrelevant. The arms go up about that far. They go down. Obviously, they're going to be very hindered due to the shoulder armor on. So, let's just take this shoulder armor off on one side, and then maybe I'll do articulation like this, with pieces on one side and then pieces on the other. Full 360 rotation. A single bend at the elbow, a swivel at the elbow. He's got a swivel at the gauntlet, a swivel at the wrist, a hinge at the wrist. He does have the waist swivel. He does crunch forward. He does crunch back a little bit. It's a little bit more hindered on the dwarf body. I think he's a little bit scrunched up there, but it is there. He can tilt side to side, and like I said, he can swivel. Same about range of motion on the other side of the arm, except for the shoulder pad piece getting in the way, obviously. He can do the splits about that far. Legs go forward also. Upper thigh swivel. Then he has a single jointed knee. He has a knee swivel as well as an upper thigh swivel. He has a swivel at the ankle. He points the heel. He points the toe. He does have ankle pivot. And 2 peg holes at the bottom of his feet. Okay, next up we're going to do packaging, and as you can see, it's the single-carded Mythic Legions packaging with the Mythic Legions logo down on the bottom, and then up top we've got, on the right side, we've got the Four Horsemen logo, excuse me. And then on this side, it says mythiclegions.com, Source Horseman, which is their forum, and storehorseman.com. On the back, we've got some beautiful back card artwork. Looks really good. It's actually the inside first page for the issue #1 comic. Pretty cool looking. And there you go. On the other side, we have his clan symbol. Then on the other side, we have a picture of Gonxx. And there is his read-up. You can pause it and read it if you want to. Okay, as far as size comparisons go, we've got two Marvel Legends here. On the left, we have Radioactive Man on the Hyperion body mold. And then on the right, we have Multiple Man on the Bucky Cat body mold. Okay, next up, we've got a WWE Elite figure in Shawn Michaels on the left. On the right, we have a DC Universe Classics Hawkman. And lastly, we have a Motu Classics in Vicor on the left. And on the right, we've got Sir Gideon Heavensbrand. Okay, next up, we're going to be taking a look at Sculpt and Paint. And, this is where the Mythic Legions figures really shine, is the sculpt and the paint work, I think. Looks really good. They've definitely improved on a lot of their quality control issues as far as the paint goes, I think. I'm not to say that some of them don't have quality control issues, but looking at Gonxx here, he's got, like I said, it's pretty consistent throughout that shoulder armor and and a lot of the weapons that we've got this little bit of like a rusty wash going through. It's almost like an orange kind of going throughout some of the armor to give off that rusty look. Looks really good. I'm very pleased with it. It's kind of just going along through the sculpt, as you can see here. I think it looks really cool. There's a little bit right here on the chin. And then we've got some throughout all of the crevices on his helmet from some battle damage right here. I think all the battle damage looks pretty good on him too, as far as that sculpting goes. The eyes look really cool. He's kind of got those almost like a lime green eye. He's almost got like a lime green eye. Eyes, I should say, plural. Anyway, moving on to the ears. The ears look really good. I really like the sculpt of these goblin ears. I think they look really good. As far as the armor goes, it is a reused body from the previous waves with the dwarfs. Obviously, he's got more of the orcish style armor for the gauntlets. I want to say the legs are pretty much the dwarf bodied legs, but I think it really fits with him, and I like that he's a little bit on the thicker, girthier side for his backstory making sense. I think it fits well with his backstory, him being kind of a brute. As far as the goblins go, he's definitely the larger of all the other goblins that we've gotten between Nubnik and the Goblin Legion builders. I think it works really well, including Snag also, which we'll get to down the line in another review. But I like him a lot. He's actually kind of grown on me, even though he's just, the only really the new thing as far as his body goes is his head sculpt, but I think it works nicely. I like this little cod piece or belt piece right here, the kind of crotch covering. I think it looks really good. We've seen it with like characters like Atlas the Conqueror and stuff like that, but he obviously has different paint apps that differentiate him from some of those characters. Underneath that, we've got some Under Armour sculpting right here, and then the paint has kind of got that rusty feel, and it's consistent throughout the arms right here in between the elbow, or the inner elbow, or not the inner elbow, the arm, the inside of the arm. This would be his elbow, but you get my drift. You get what I was trying to say there, hopefully. Hopefully you did. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with all of the sculpt and all of the paint on him. I want to do one last comparison here. This is actually Gonxx with his neck peg actually turned around backwards. And this, I just wanted to show this quick little comparison with Sir Gideon Heavensbrand, that he is a little bit taller. So there is a little bit of a difference there. So if you wanted to go this route and you don't mind the head sitting a little bit higher up instead of him kind of hunching forward, you could go this route if you wanted to have him maybe look a little bit different from some of the other goblins. Okay, so my final thoughts on Gonxx is definitely a recommend here. I like him a lot. I think he's pretty cool. I like his little backstory. And I like that he's the commanding leader of all of the goblins for King Noglin. I think that's pretty cool. So I'm definitely going to give him a 2 thumbs up here and a full recommend. Go pick him up. I think he's one of those evil baddies that you're going to want to get your hands on. I know a lot of the Goblin Legion builders are very popular right now, but I think this, without having all of those Goblin Legion builders is great, but without having this guy, who's going to lead them? You know what I mean? Especially them, the Four Horsemen taking the time to give us that nice little backstory. Even though he is, kind of reused as far as the dwarf body goes. I like the paint apps on him. I think the reuse works. I like the new head. I think it's significant to this character. So I don't know if I'll necessarily be using this on any other character. I think of Gonxx. I think of this head. You know what I mean? So, I think I've actually changed my mind with the shoulder armor. I might actually keep him with the shoulder armor on. I think it makes him look a little bit more intimidating, a little bit more bulky. Pretty pleased overall with all the weaponry that he comes with. All the paint apps are consistent throughout the entire body, whether it's the weapons or the body itself or the extra shoulder armor. Everything has got that nice little rusty wash to it. I think it looks really good, works very well. He's going to be a great addition to your collection. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you like Gonxx? Do you not? Are you going to pass on him? Was he a priority? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious to hear what you guys all think. But that's pretty much it for me. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications until you see 2 little parentheses hanging over the bell. Hit the like button if you like the content and you want more. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. You guys have a great day. And I'll see you guys on the flip side.